Hi, it's the Champion's Guy. Welcome to today's episode of Vestibular Talks. Today's special guest is Luis. Luis is a successful videographer, photographer, businessman, entrepreneur. He's also the father to an amazing young lady called Journey, and also he's the husband to a wonderful, very intelligent woman called Candice. Luis is a good friend of mine. He's experiencing some health issues related to chronic migraines as well as some IBS symptoms. And he's here to share his experience with us and how he's trying to gain his health back after struggling for a few years. All right, enjoy the episode. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and find your happiness, guys. All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, Luis is in the house. Welcome, Luis.
Thank you,
Really,
brother.
really appreciate you being part of this episode of Vestibular Talks. You're a person that I could you know how they say that you don't choose your family. You're the type of family that I can choose. So you're the type of family that strangers that become friends that then become family. So I'm very happy that you're part of this now. Thank you.
Thank you. We do
All
go way
right.
back.
Wait, yeah. Luis, let's start by saying, give us a little intro about you and then what is going on with your health.
Okay. My name is Jose Luis Gonzalez. I am originally from the Philippines, born and raised. And my wife, Candice, and I, and our daughter, Journey, moved here to Canada November 2010. Um, had a very healthy life uh, in other countries we've lived in. This is actually our 29th country to live and work in. The last 25 years, Candice and I have been together in all kinds of amazing adventures and humanitarian work and even ministry we've done around the world. But we found ourselves making Canada home. And so, in short, and I know we're going to jump into this later and really dive into the meat of the story, but in short, coming to Canada, starting fresh, starting a new life, we started to build a business, the two of us, from scratch. And that's actually how I met you. And in that time, as everyone knows, you're building a business, you're doing all the work. And so as the years kept going by, year one, crazy busy, very taxing physically. Year two, started to notice, of course, the obvious exhaustion, aches and pains. The migraines were starting to set in, but of course, I simply assumed that was due to the two people working hard, working their butts off, 80 hours a week type of thing, building their business and trying to raise a family at the same time. And so a number of years went by where, and as we are in the film and TV industry, and we make music videos and corporate videos and things like that, I also noticed that, I also wondered if the headaches were simply due to the ridiculous hours that I spent in front of the computer editing. And so as time went by, I started to really bad and really what doctors have said is a chronic. The main characteristics are these extreme migraines. Having watched your wonderful channel, I know that what you're trying to do is to bring light and bring help to people who may not understand what's going on, especially with their own health, because initially it's a mystery. It's such a scary thing to go through an experience, and to the point where I wasn't sure anymore if the people close to me believed me when I would say I can't, or I can't do this, or I'm really suffering today, and they'd look at me like, fine, you're healthy, and you try and explain this, and it's like your heart's breaking because you know what's going on, you're not making things up. Then there's that side of your brain that tells you, come on, toughen up. You're a, you know, you're a father, or you're a mother, or you're a husband. People are counting on you. You're a parent. Toughen up, and just stop being weak. Or even though I knew I wasn't being weak. Came to the point that one day I just told Candace, I think we really need to go see a doctor. And it so happened at that time that we were working for some naturopathic health clinic here in Calgary. And we were filming things for them. And in so doing, they said, "Do you guys want to get checked up yourself?" And, Johan, you know me. I will always smile. I will always put my best foot forward. I don't walk around with a sad look on my face, even though I'm hurting. I will always be Mr. Positive, Mr. Come on, let's do this. It's a good day. Even though I am just in so much pain and my head's throbbing and my head feels like it's either in a vice helmet, grip tighter, 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 or sometimes the opposite. Like my head feels like it's 10 times bigger and it's about to blow up. It's both. And there are times where I can't even touch my head. Yeah. I can't even touch my scalp or the back of my neck. Even to lie down is excruciating because you can't touch. So in that time with this health clinic, they did our blood work and all that, did the test, and they had to ask, how's your health now? I said, when you say now, what are we comparing to? Like the best health I've ever had in my whole life? They said, yeah. I said, okay, that's easy. Maybe a 1 out of 10. They were like, what? 1? Why? You look fine. And started to explain. And you know what it's like when you go to the doctor? It's easy to feel, it depends on the doctor. Some doctors, you feel like you have to, I don't know what it is, but there's a psychological thing with doctors. There are doctors where I feel like I have to be tougher and be like, no, I'm okay. It's no big deal. And there are some doctors that try and pull out, are you really fine? And they want almost more than what is reality. I felt like with these doctors, I could just be honest and tell them, oh, some days it feels like this and some days it feels like that. But guess what? I'm a husband. I'm a father. We run our own business. You just get up. You don't have the luxury of sleeping in. You don't have the luxury of taking a sick day to get up and work. And how about when you feel extreme exhaustion? I don't have an option. My wife and I need to make rent or pay the mortgage, pay the bills, and my daughter needs me. The blood work came back. They were first thinking, okay, it sounds like maybe you're just experiencing some seasonal migraines. I didn't want to put too much out there. And then they came back and they called me 2 days later and said, it's a very extreme emergency. You need to come in. In short, they found that my inflammation markers were through the roof. I also had, because it's funny, there's no marker for a migraine. It's not like diabetes where you can see a blood sugar level. It's not like cholesterol where you can see a number. There are just other indicators like, there are inflammation markers. This is my understanding. I am not a health professional, but the way it was explained to me is this. There are certain indicators that can reveal causes and reasons for the symptoms we're experiencing. And so one of the things that really alarmed them was also my inflammation was through the roof, but my blood iron levels were extremely low. Now, I believe that if my memory is correctly, because this is a few years ago, normal adult iron levels should be like 200 to 400 for an adult male. They said that when your blood iron drops to around 100, you should be getting transfusions and or serious medical help. Well, my blood iron level was at an 11.
Wow.
And my inflammation markers were through the roof. And they said, oh my goodness, how did you walk in here today? I'm like I told you, I have no choice. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I don't, and I hope a lot of your viewers can relate, because we don't have the luxury of just when we're feeling such extreme pain, we have our families. They come first.
Well, Luis, sorry to interrupt you, but you said many things that are very, very interesting. For example, you said having to tell your family members and your loved ones what you're going through and almost trying to convince them is heartbreaking, because in a sense, you're not pretending to be sick. If anything, you're pretending to be healthy, so you can put on this straight face of be like, no, like I'm gonna act like everything is normal. Meanwhile, inside you're dealing with these demons, and you're trying to show, because you don't want your family to worry. You don't want your family to be like, holy crap, what, he's breaking apart. So you're putting this face of an act that, no, I'm okay in the surface, but inside you're a mess.
100%. And it comes from a good motivation. It comes from love. I don't want to see they're counting on me. They love me. And you know, my wife has been wonderful throughout this whole process. My mom, who also lives with us by that time, and my daughter, they were extremely understanding. But it wasn't that they didn't believe me, because I never felt that. It was simply that I could tell that I was having a very hard time communicating, or for them to understand what I was really feeling. Because
The
you know,
extent, yeah.
yeah, it's like, you know, you have one good sleep. Oh, how was your sleep? I had 8 hours. Oh, you feel better? And I'm like, how do you tell someone? And I think you can relate. One night's sleep does nothing. Like, it was a good sleep, and I actually told the doctor this, and they said, how's your sleep? And I said, it's been challenged because we have so much on our plate, and you worry about a lot of things. So you try not to worry. And they said, well, after a good night's sleep, do you feel A, rested, B, you know, somewhat rested, C, like nothing happened at all? And I said, C. And then they were explaining that people who are experiencing this type of very complex, it's not an easy diagnosis. It's not just, oh, you have this, take that. I stopped seeing my Alberta Health Services doctor for that reason, and nothing against the Alberta Health, they're great. But the particular doctor I had a very narrow view, and simply was, oh, you have migraine? I'm going to prescribe you this. And I'm like, how many milligrams do you want me to take a day? Oh yeah, just 5,000 milligrams Tylenol, Tylenol, and you know, at night Tylenol 3 with the codeine to help you sleep. And I'm like, 5,000, like that's 10 pills. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I knew enough. And I did some research to know. And again, this is just me speaking personally. I knew enough to know that would damage a part of my body. And there are people out there talk about the damage done to them. So back to what you are asking about communicating that, after a while, I started to just that deep breath, and I would indulge oh, did you have a good sleep? Do you feel better today? You must feel better. And I'm like, sure. And I almost wanted to tell them I could have good sleep for a year. Maybe then I would start to feel, maybe if I didn't do anything for a year, okay, and let's be realistic, maybe 6 months, if I stopped working and all I did was focus on healing myself and happiness, and just ate well and got to sleep, maybe after 6 months I might start to, maybe I'll be at a 2 out of 10. Like, I really felt this is how bad it was. And I think you can relate. You know, it pushes us into an emotional state to explain things, because you're literally like a rubber band that's been pulled so tight, you feel like you're about to snap and break.
And that's the other thing. Not only the physical agony, but the mental that is placed on you, especially lack of sleep. Lack of sleep starts driving you crazy. You start to, you don't feel yourself. You start to hallucinate while you're awake. You feel angry. You feel everything irritates you. You feel that you feel desperate because you really crave that much needed sleep, and your body is not getting it. So not only you're dealing with all these symptoms in the physical world, but in the mental world, you're trying to keep it together and not breaking down. And something that you mentioned, you said, well, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, they count on me. You're their role model, you're their strength. Not only that, Luis, you're a man. And from our cultures, from the Philippine culture and the Spanish culture that are very similar, men are told to be macho, to be tough. Oh, you have a migraine? You can tough that up. Like you're it's not like, and they tell you it's not like you're missing a limb, it's not like you're missing an arm or a leg, it's just a headache. So tough it up. Yeah. So in your mind, you want to become vulnerable because you're like, I'm going through something that is breaking me piece by piece. But in your mind, you're like, no, I have to be macho. I have to be strong. I have to be the head of the household. So I can completely relate and understand what must have been for you to put this straight face dealing with this situation.
And it causes what, you can either let things go as they are, and little by little your life begins to fall apart. Because you're right, it's when pain is, regardless of where your pain is physically exhausting. Your entire being is fighting pain. So not only is it physical, because we're a complex being. You can't just deal with a physical and not realize that we are spiritual and emotional and mental. You really can't break it apart.
Yeah.
We are a holistic being, and therefore we need a holistic approach where we look at all the parts, not just
As a
picking out
system.
little pieces. And I know I've heard this from some extremely smart and extremely accomplished medical professionals who are at the top of their game, and this is not new. I know in the last decade and a half, this awakening to the holistic has really helped so many people. Um, when I So you can either going down the path of just muscling through it, like you said very clearly, it is a part of our culture. And even though I'm not deceiving myself to believe that if I'm more macho, I'm more of a man, it's still that generational culture that is, it's just there in the back of your head. It just kicks in. Now we live in Canada, and Canada does not have the Latin background, not like the Philippines or Colombia or Spain, but it's almost in our DNA. We feel so compelled to just be this person, and that's where the inner conflict comes. Because I wanted to be like, I wanted to show weakness, not to wallow in it, but because I know and I really trust my life partner, my wife, my best friend. I wanted to honor our relationship and show her I'm really hurting. We made vows to each other, and that means in sickness and in health. And I'm going through a heck of a time right now. Again, she has been wonderful throughout this whole process, and there were and then so instead of trying to just fight it and muscle through it, that awakening moment of the blood test got me thinking. So they put me on a natural program, but it was only step one. What ended up happening was, with all these supplements and change of lifestyle and diet, you still can't fully change your lifestyle because nothing changed with work. I don't have a benefactor. I still have to work. I still have to provide. My wife and I both have to work and provide. The hours don't change. Someone said, well, hire more people. We did that. You're trying. And so it got to the point where after about a year of being on their treatment and their supplements and all that, the test came back and I was now starting to climb. Now I was near 100 after about a year. And I'm like, okay, that's improving. How do you feel? I said, I feel I have good days and bad days, as we all have. But then right at that time, the second blow hit me and I went through one of the worst experiences of my life, which is the vertigo. Oh. And I can't even, and it didn't last very long, but it was a bad time of my life. I went through, it was vertigo, then it was shingles, which if anyone has had shingles, it's extremely painful. It was vertigo, it was shingles, and then I had an episode which stems from a child, what do you call that? A congenital condition I was born with that was diagnosed and fixed in 2006, but this is a gut issue. But so it was like domino, just one after the other.
Collapsed.
Yeah, and so, but the one common factor was the stress in my life was actually increasing. I was going through a very difficult immigration process. I was going through, again, with the work stress. Candice and I were trying to level up our business and change and just move into a different way of working smarter as well as harder. But that meant the sleep was even more lacking, and the stress of looking at making sure we could make the mortgage and pay the people that were working for us was a very ever-present thing. And then, of course, now your child's growing up and she needs more dad time. And I'm like, I can't be that absent dad
Yeah.
for a good reason. So that vertigo, when the vertigo hit, because I know we're talking about vestibular, so I'll focus on these things. I couldn't, it was though, it literally feels like you're losing. If migraines weren't bad enough, this was worse. Because
Yeah.
the migraines didn't go away. So it just layered. Now the migraines
Yes.
and then the vertigo,
Yes.
and you know what I'm talking about. You can't even lying down, there's no relief.
There is no, yes. And sorry to interrupt you for a second, Luis, but you know what?
Please.
People that haven't experienced actual vertigo cannot relate to it. So I've had doctors say, "Oh, it's just a little bit of dizziness," and I'm like, "No, you don't get it." But I had one doctor, finally one doctor, that she herself experienced it for a couple of weeks, and she told me, "Johan, it was the most filled with panic and anxiety moments of my life," because he said I could finally relate to what patients were telling me when they were describing their vertigo. And she said, and there was no, like you said, no relief. Sitting down, everything is moving and spinning. Laying down, everything is spinning. Standing up is even worse. So she said, for 2 weeks, she's like, I felt like that was hell on earth. So she's like, I cannot imagine what you or other people that experience vestibular disorders in frequency, what your life must be like. And I said, yes, like finally someone that gets it, because other people don't really get it. So please go on.
And you touch on a very important point there on one of the most basic human needs, and that is to be understood, to be
Yes.
validated. It can be worse than the emotional and mental duress from not being understood, not being heard, and not being really like, I know what you're going through, or I want to understand what you're going through, can be worse than, say, a broken foot, a broken limb. It's again because we are this complex being, and so we are spiritual, we are mental, we are emotional, we're physical, we have all these things. And the I really want to encourage everyone who is going through this to really look, because it came to the point where you look at your life as a whole, and then you make decisions not based on only on economics. You have to make decisions based on realizing I only have one life. I I have one life, and timing is so important because I have a daughter by now. She's what? This is from the period when she was like 4, and now she's 11. It's an ongoing process. I'll never get her back for that age of 4 to 11. I'll never get it back. It's a painful thought. I have her in my life now, and it's wonderful. And our relationship never got strained. Both my wife and I, and my daughter and I, and my mom and I. But what I started noticing was my daughter started saying, "Oh yeah, my dad, he's either working too hard or too busy, or he's not feeling well." Not and
The sick parent. That's how they see it. Yeah, the sick parent.
broke my heart because you can't you can't go to them and say, you don't understand what I'm going through. This puts a roof over your head. If I didn't work hard, you wouldn't be eating, you wouldn't be clothed, you wouldn't be I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's wrong to do that to a child. It's wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh well, of course.
And yet we've done it. I've done it. I'll be open in the heat of frustration, because again, now every emotion, all my patience is gone. The ability to be a kind person is, it's like looking at someone's tires and you can already see the white part and the metal part, and you're like, ooh, you're one pothole away from blowing that tire. Well, guess what? That was not just my physical, that was my soul in this area. And yet, because I was still, God's loving me and loving our family, and I'm doing my utmost to be present, that His grace was there to show me a way out, and that was to actually, after the results came back after the year, and after I got through the vertigo, honestly, I don't remember much from the vertigo because it was so extreme. I remember I was in it for about 3 weeks. I remember getting tired of vomiting. I remember that I was bruised because I was just knocking into things constantly, and I pretty much as much as possible stayed in our bedroom. But I don't remember. I think my mind blocked out a lot of the actual moments because I was in so
Trauma. Yeah.
the trauma was, the pain was so intense and there was no relief. Now I remember something that has stayed with me, and I haven't experienced that vertigo since then. Thank God, that was a few years back. But even to this day, I cannot look at anything that is patterned, like a
Yeah.
plaid shirt, certain stripes, certain sign, even like you walk around. Let's say you're in the mall and you're just looking at different, clothing store, and I'll just see this one outfit or a dress, and I can't look at it because it just starts dancing, and I'm like,
Yes.
am I going crazy again? Like, does anyone see?
That's it. Yes. Yes. 100% relate.
And I've had my eyes tested so much. I have, I don't really have. I have a little bit of astigmatism in my left eye. It's really not a big deal. I'm supposed to wear glasses, corrective, but it's such a low grade. I actually have excellent vision. So the doctor said it's really not your vision. It's something else.
It's the migraines.
Yes. So I know to kind of bring it to where we are today. One of the things I noticed was I felt in my heart, this very important point, as I was looking for things have to change because I am not going to give up being. I need to recover. I need to be more present as a dad. And I know that others will say, oh, but you needed to take care of yourself. You're sick. I know. And I wasn't being hard on myself, but I was very aware of it was like tumbling down a hill. And like I needed, there needs to be something that can change this. And that was the big question. What can change this downward spiral? And I just felt in my gut very strongly, stop doing certain things and start doing certain things. Sleep. Like you say you're an insomniac and you say this, but you know what? You've also confessed this with your mouth. And in our words of power, if I believe that I am this and I keep saying that, then therefore I will. So
Yeah, you
I
vocalize it, so you manifest.
to force myself. Yes. I started to force myself to focus on getting good sleep. So that meant no devices in bed, no screens, certain music, whether it was even at times when I could read a book, that also helped just because it shut down anything electronic. Try to get to bed a lot earlier. Hydration, nutrition. I went back to, because we live in Canada and this is a North American style diet, but I was raised in the Philippines, and in the Philippines I was in the best of health. I was an athlete for some time there too. And so I just felt, oh my God, go back to eating like you did growing up. What was that? Fish, fresh veggie, the Asian kind of veggies, cooked the way, rice, plain rice. And it's so simple. It sounds so simple, but it was actually counter to what the other doctors were saying. More red meat, more red meat, more red meat, more. I'm like, you know what? I'm supposed to go back to fish and those omega-3s. And again, nutrition is so we are what we eat. We literally, our cells are literally made up of what we put inside our mouth.
We are what we eat, yes. And Luis, you're you know what they say, the gut feeling, like the gut instinct. If that was telling you go back to what I ate before, what I was meant to eat since I was a kid, it's because your body is communicating with you, is telling you no. Like yes, for some people, a bunch of red meat, the carnivore diet might work, but for you specifically, like your body was telling you no. That's what we need to heal.
And we need to listen to our bodies. We are like the one size fits all medical approach never really worked. And in fact, you look at other things in life, a one size fits all education doesn't work for a lot of people. The one size fits all everything, whether you're talking about religious beliefs or just to take one thing and force it on everyone, just doesn't work that way. And so nutrition, I stopped. I actually had to stop taking the ferrous sulfate and the other thing because by now I'm on it 3 years, and they said you really shouldn't be on this for more than a year and a half because it can start to affect. If you're just taking supplements, your body is not getting. It's supposed to be a jump start, so your body can start making it on its own. But now I'm just totally supplementing it, which means your body will start to oh, I'm getting this consistently from the
So it
outside
doesn't make
source,
it.
I'll stop taking. So, and it was remarkable. All of that taken together, the sleep, the nutrition, the focus on me, my family. Um, I actually started to take essential oils to try and relieve the pain, just physical rubbing things. Um, I would take the long hot showers just to relieve. It's initially even water touching your head is excruciating, but you get through that. Would I say I experienced migraines any less? Not really, because not really. But what has changed is I think when I'm not, I've been able to build my health back up again to a point where now I'm feeling like maybe I'm a 4 out of 10. So that's very hopeful.
Mhm.
Um, that's 3 times more than where I started.
When
So
you
that's a
start.
very good increase. Here's just a funny thing. Whenever I leave Calgary for any length of time and I get near the ocean, which is again Philippines sea level ocean, I don't know what it is. I have no pain.
Yes, and I completely relate. It's something about the city that we live in. I don't know if it's the pressure, the barometric pressure, the stress in the environment, because it's a very economic driven society here. And
Yes.
it's gray. A lot of the times the skies are really gray. So I ended up going to Mexico for my wedding, and I felt better. I mean, I didn't feel 100%, but I felt better. And I was like, oh, that was strange. I had really good days. And then I went to BC to visit a friend that lives in Victoria in the island. And again, I felt much better. So I don't know if it's something psychological that we just tell ourselves, it's Calgary, or there really is something to do with the city, with the pressure in here in the air, with the weather changes, like something.
You know, again, you hit the nail on the head there. When I did go back to for the gut issue, I went back to I got a new doctor, a new family doctor, Alberta Health, and this doctor, the one I currently have now, is a fantastic guy, very understanding, very in tune, very open to the holistic, and actually treats this way. He actually looked at me and told me, "Do you know that Calgary is the migraine capital of North America?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Google it, look it up." And so you know, the thing is, and I don't want to just bash our city.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great city to raise a family in. And yes, we're
Yes.
going through tough times economically, and it's not just what we're in right now with the pandemic, but oil and gas the last few years. In spite of that, I'm really thankful for the opportunity that the city has given me.
Yes.
I think it's not. I do notice what you say about the spirit or the just the attitude of just making money, making money, making money. It really is predominant in this city. But it's so funny you said Mexico. We were just on an RV road trip for almost 3 months, about a month in total in Baja in Mexico, and I too felt great. So maybe the answer is we all need to go to Mexico.
To live in the ocean, by the ocean, yeah. Oh, oh, we gotta win the
I mean,
lottery first.
that's right. So just I know this is and again, thank you for the opportunity to talk, Johan. But just to finish it off on my part, I want to encourage everyone going through this. I think the biggest change, because physically, I know your story. We are all still working through the physical aspect. It doesn't go away. It may lessen at times, but it doesn't go away. And until we can fully figure out a long-term solution, which obviously is going to be of a holistic, mental, physical, nutritional solution, all combined. But I will say that the biggest encouragement is just to let that guard down. The mental aspect of this really exacerbates so much.
Yeah.
And when you know that you're going through it and you have people around you that you can be really vulnerable and honest with without any filters, without any masks, then love and understanding can flow. And as human beings, we need love and understanding and validation like we need air, like
Yeah.
we need food. If we don't get it, we suffer so badly. And so I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. if we can at least start to tick off the other boxes, the mental box, the emotional, the spiritual, then it actually enables us to deal with the physical a lot better. It's like now we're, instead of being, 3/4 damaged, now we have the other 3/4 are with us, and now we're just dealing with the 1/4, the physical. So my journey isn't over yet. I know a lot of ours isn't, but I do know that the certain things that have worked, I'm going to continue doing. The last time I got my blood iron checked, I was already at a 200, and that's from no supplements, not a lot of. I still eat red meat, but I didn't grow up eating a lot of red meat. A lot of fish, some chicken, some red meat, but really a lot of the again, for my personal situation, the things that I personally grew up eating that really made me strong, that's how we eat now. We've eaten like that for years, and we're all thriving.
Yes.
So what would you say to people what would you give advice, Johan, when you tell people what they should do?
Well, Luis, first of all, yes, the nourishing your body, number one. Like you really gotta nourish your body with the proper foods. But something that you mentioned is that the holistic approach. Regular medicine, medical doctors, this doctor that you saw at first for your migraines, he wanted to mask the symptoms. He's like, take all these pills, let's suppress the symptoms, and you'll feel better. But that's not the root cause. Like, and that's why I like the book that I told you about yesterday, The Medical Medium, because he says this we're a whole system. We're not just like, oh, you have headaches, maybe a neurologist can help you. Oh, you have IBS problems with your gut, maybe a gastro doctor can help you. Like, no, we're a whole system. And migraines are so tricky that migraines control a lot of other systems like the visual, the vestibular with the ears, the neck pain, the movements, the nausea, the throwing up. Migraines have such control over all these things. And the medical medium encompasses all of this by saying it could be a virus, it could be the Epstein virus, it could be the shingles virus that is hiding behind your nervous system and attacking you, making you sick, giving you migraines, giving you all these things. And then he recommends diets, a clean diet, clean supplements, and a spiritual cleansing in order to move forward towards healing. So again, holistic. It's not just like, let's take the magic pill, that one bullet that is going to solve all the issues. No, you have to take it in steps. Hey.
Sorry.
Say
hi.
Monty's a big boy.
You have your chappiness. I have my
Montiness.
Okay.
So that's what I tell people, and that's why I like to lend you the book, because it's a way to see the bigger picture into connecting into one system.
And thank you so much for saying that. And I 100% this is true. One of the things too that I would like to add, I forgot to earlier, was the choice to two things, and this is the spiritual cleansing part. I had to make a very deliberate choice to forgive. And forgive what was happening. It's just the accumulation of certain relationships, certain situations that you don't realize, but when you don't forgive, and forgiveness is not for them, forgiveness is always for the person doing the forgiving. It's so that we can let go. We're not saying it's okay what they did. We're just saying, I'm letting it go. I'm leaving it. It's baggage. I'm carrying, I'm carrying it without even realizing it. So I need to cut that off. And how do we do that? By forgiving. And so I really went back and very deliberately made choices, not just for the past, but also to create an attitude moving forward, an attitude where I don't react to things, try not to take things personally, try to be and especially, anyone with a growing child knows your patience will be tested. And so just even there, just to always look at, when my child is really on my nerves, to just be extra patient and forgiving. And then, of course, any married person, any person with a partner for life, regardless of that piece of paper. It doesn't matter. When you are committed and you have a partner for life, that is also the best relationship in your life, and it can also be the cause of the worst pain in your life. And every relationship has ups and downs, and so to position ourselves to just be bigger than the things that bug us, to have more love than the things that irritate us or the fights that we always have, or because no one is perfect. Everyone is going through a struggle. So when that deliberate choice to just, it's a very simple question. Do I want Candace in my life or not? Yes or no? Boom. You know what? Every time there's an argument, I just ask myself that question. Every time I'm pissed off, I just ask myself that question. And it becomes so clear what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then just choosing to love my creator, love God. You know, Candace and I, my family, we're Jesus people. We're obviously not perfect. I don't ever think it's about perfection. I know it's absolutely not about that. I think it's about love and receiving the gift of what he did. We just went through Easter. And so to me, it was that combination as well of just realizing that we are conduits for that love for other people. Like, you know, reconnecting with you and Nancy after so many years, it was so fantastic. And seeing your transformation, I was just blown away. I'm like, wow, who is this guy? and I want to say one last thing. Forgive me.
No,
I have come to see the gift in this whole trial. I have come to recognize the blessing behind what seems to be the biggest challenge and the biggest thing in my life that I've ever faced. Because it has caused me to wake up in even a further way and realize life is so precious. And you treat the people in my life. Yeah, good day. That doesn't mean there are no challenges in a day. It was funny because in Baja, we went to a twist store in Todos Santos. Those of you who know what I'm talking about know what that area is. It's where the original Hotel California from the Eagles song is located. And looking through, after looking at the big turtles and helping release them in the ocean, we saw this license plate there, and it was made up from other cut-up license plates, but it was cool. It said there are no bad days, and we put that on the front of our RV, and now it's our family motto. Hey, no bad days. Because even when Daddy is going through a tough day, even when I'm having really just a day where I'm not productive and I need to be mostly left alone, we all make the choice together. No bad day. We walk in love. We walk in kindness, compassion, in care. And remarkably, it helps remove the pain. It does. Not all the way, but it does lessen it. So
a positive affirmation, a positive mantra. Yes.
Thank you, my brother.
No, thank you, Luis. I really appreciate you being here with us. And I know we will find our happiness because we're strong. And then you, like, I know you're a spiritual person and God created us perfect. We're perfect, not to what humans consider perfect, but we're perfect on the way that we need to be. So yes, I know we will find that help.
I love how you said that. I'm going to start saying that. Oh, and lastly, dogs are great. If you dogs will give you unconditional love. Dogs
Yes.
are. I you know, when the dogs would know. Monty would know. Luna would know. Leroy, who's just recently passed, and Shadow, our first Great Dane, the one, you know, the big black one. When he was with us, they would just know. Even the cats, they would just know, and they would come, and it was like they'd lie down with me, and it's like they were saying, "I love you. Let me help you." And you know what? I don't know. I would never live without animals because I see the kind of love that they can give. So I'm just saying, maybe that helps too.
Luis, God is love, right? God is love, and spell dog backwards.
Yes. I
All
love
right,
it.
amigo.
I love it.
Well, thank you very much, hermano. I really appreciate it, and I know this is gonna help many people. And we're
so.
gonna continue on the journey of healing. And I hope we can do this again sometime soon.
I would love that. I hope so. I hope it does. And love to you guys.
All right, take care. Value Happiness. Bye bye.